All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. We are looking at week 13 of training at this point. Man, that marathon's coming up quick. So with where we're at, we've got this week and then 3 more weeks after that leading into the marathon. So this is probably my last big week of training. I'm still gonna have one more big long run next week, but overall, as like a general, like, here is the total volume of workload and the training load for an entire week. This is probably gonna be the last big week that we're going to be looking at. And this is something that's important because a lot of people, especially when they're going towards, events that are coming up and that, like, they've been training all the time for them, they keep kind of be like, hey, I'm going to try and squeeze every little bit that I can leading into that event. And sometimes you just need to realize it's time to cut it. Realize that, like we keep talking about, like, the only stuff that you benefit from is the stuff you have time and ability to recover from. And so this week we're far enough out. Like I said, I've got about 3 weeks left. We'll have one more, big long run next week, but the volume and everything else is going to start trickling down from here. And so we'll still do enough to kind of maintain at this point, but the big job and the big thing that we're shooting for is to start recovering, recouping, feeling good, and moving forward and feeling fit on the day of the race. Okay, because that's the other thing too. Sometimes people try and do too much at the very end here, and they end up getting hurt. And if you're hurt and you don't get a starting line, it doesn't matter how fit you were, how many miles you did, you're not going to perform well. So a big thing, get to the starting line healthy. To make sure you're recovered. And everything else will kind of take care of itself. So that's kind of where we're at in the grand scheme of things. So let's take a look at the week. So like I said, this week is going to be my last big week of training. I'm shooting for about 70 to 75 miles. So this is going to be right there equal to my biggest, if not the biggest, week of training that I'll have for this build up. And again, I've mentioned this before. I'm not a super high mileage person. My body just doesn't handle just that low intensity, slow volume, like some people do. There's some people that can just run and just keep running. I need some intensity in my training to feel good. Otherwise I start kind of feeling flat and whatnot. And that was the idea of last week. And we hit last week with that intent, and I think it did what it was supposed to do. And so I'm actually feeling really good right now. So like I said, this is gonna be the last big week. It's not gonna be as big as some people. We know there's people that are running 120 mile weeks. I understand my body enough to know that I can't handle that. I could go out there and I could probably throw down 100-mile week, but I don't know how well I would rebound from that after that. I don't know how many of those I could do in a row. I don't know how long it would take me to get a stress fracture. We're not going to worry about those things because we're not going to do them. Okay, we're gonna be more on the conservative side, and I think that's a big thing that a lot of people don't always think about. It's always better to be slightly more conservative and do slightly less than to do just a little bit too much, because that's when injuries happen, and we don't want those. Those are bad. We want consistency. Okay. So, okay, let's take a look. What do we got going on this week? So as you notice, not a super heavy week in the way of workouts. That was last week. The intensity was up a little bit last week. We're going to drop it down just a little bit because we are bumping up the volume by a significant amount. Last week I was probably mid-50s or so. We're looking to jump that up to mid-70s this week. And so we're going to need to bring the intensity down so that, again, I don't hurt myself. So Monday, we're just going to do some aerobic stuff and then do some strides. Again, we're at this point where I still want to keep that turnover going a little bit. And so a lot of times that may include strides or things of those sorts. So that'd be Monday. Tuesday, just another easy run. Wednesday, we're back on the tempo train. We're going to do 2 by 2.5 mile, just kind of at that tempo threshold effort. A little bit slower than 10K effort, kind of closer to that, a little bit quicker than half marathon, somewhere in there, somewhere where you can, say a sentence or two, but that's about it. That comfortable, uncomfortable pace, that effort that just doesn't feel right, but it is a very useful tool when it comes to training a lot of this stuff, getting kind of that lactate buffering going on there. So that would be Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, easy runs. And with the volume, I already am kind of planning out the week and seeing where things are going to fit in. I know I'm going to have at least one, if not 2 days this week that I'll double, do something like 5 in the morning, 7 in the evening, or some sort of variation on that. Just because of, again, the volume, because in order to hit this volume, I'm either doing like a bunch of 10-mile days or, kind of doubling a little bit and maybe being able to take 1 or 2 of these days a little bit easier and recover as we go through here. So, and then the last big effort for the week is going to be Saturday. We're going to do a 3-hour trail run. Again, just getting up into the trails, not worrying about pace or anything, not worrying about distance. Just being like, hey, we're going to spend 3 hours in nature, have a good time, enjoy each other's company, my wife and I. And again, just kind of one thing that we took from last week, and I didn't really talk about it too much, but the idea of fueling. This week I know, because of how slow we're going to be going and just how easy we're going to be moving through the trails, I'm probably not going to need as much fueling because it is such a low intensity, where at that intensity I'm probably going to be burning a lot of fat stores. But at the same time, I want to get my body in the habit of consuming, gels, fluids, things like that. So I'm still going to be kind of keep that rhythm up of every 35 to 40 minutes is what I'm kind of finding is working pretty well for me. Keeping that rhythm of consuming gels every, 35, 40 minutes, getting in the water every 10, 12 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, as much as I can to keep myself going. I want to try and keep that up. And that's going to be a really big thing to do out in the middle of the trails. So those are kind of the big key things for the week. As we kind of mentioned in the last video, the big thing that I want to have this week, the big goal for this week, is going to be just consistency. None of these days need to be super big and the greatest workout I've ever had, but just consistency going on so that I do get through the week feeling fine and feeling good with the volume that I'm trying to hit. Again, this is a lot more volume than I'm used to on just when I'm not doing a build up, or even when I'm doing other types of races. This is a lot more volume than my body